everyone. So we're going to be talking about the best branded tech cards and just cards that you need to be on this format for branded. These are cards that if you're not really running them in branded, I think you're kind of behind this format on it. The way that you play branded into new formats is to adapt and to run different builds. So we have different options now that help us play through things like Ash, Impulse, Mulcharies. We have great shifter lines already. It's actually an underrated option right now, and so we're going to talk about that. So I think one of the best reasons to run branded right now is that it's the best super poly deck in the game right now, and super poly cleans up such boards like Fiend Smith, Desiree plus Azamina Silvera, and you can make a Draco Stapelia with the super poly, and it immediately basically deals with all the board presence against things like Azamina Snake Eye, Azamina Fire King. You obviously don't take care of the hand traps, but you have the other 4 cards in hand, and obviously I think branded does well when you're running card advantage plus cards such as like Mulcharies, Pot Desires, and Allure of Darkness. So you're probably going to be able to pay for the discard on super poly pretty well, or at least put something in the graveyard that helps you out, such as branded Retribution or something like that. And I think super poly also being able to synergize with Mud Dragon, Garura being just great cards in branded, Mud Dragon helping you dodge imperm, then also making super poly a very generic board breaker on top of Garura being a great draw card to send off of Nadir Servant, and then just having it there for 10 pi and being able to turn skip 10 pi, which is one of the best reasons, the best use cases for this card, because if you get shifter, you could always use super poly, set super poly going first against 10 pi, and they are not going to be able to kill you through a super poly basically every single time under shifter. So it's a very good board breaker in that certain respect. I think super poly is also very good into Malice and Ryzeal format, because and then also you are going to be able to get rid of the Malice. You can basically super poly off the Terahertz plus the Malice Heart of Queens, which is their Mirror Jade, so it's very easy, and also sending them to the graveyard instead of banishing them is super huge instead of leaving them on the board to be banished. So I think super poly is very good into next format as well. I think that Book of Eclipse is also one of the best board breakers in the game too, so it kind of goes with that. I think there's less, you know, target imperm like effects, but there's still, everyone's still on imperm, and some people are still on Valor, the people who really can't afford the impulses. So I think that Book of Eclipse does put in a lot of work, but I think that super poly is more or less the card that's a lot more premier. If you're to run one or the other, it's definitely super poly. Nadir Servant is also one of the better reasons to run branded right now, because this allows you to play through things like Mulcharies, Impulse, Ash, Imperm, combinations of 3 to even 4 hand traps sometimes, just with using Nadir Servant in combination with branded fusion plus another extender. So I think that Nadir Servant ends up being a very useful card in the branded arsenal at the moment, whether it's in the main deck or the side deck, because going first in a meta where the best 2 decks in Tenpai and Fire King, and also some Snake Eye variants, are running Dominus Impulse on top of new decks like Mermail, you have to have, you know, contingency options for playing through multiple hand traps, and we have combos on my channel kind of showing you test hands, kind of examples of playing through multiple hand traps, because I think that's one of the biggest things with branded. You can always win if you're uninterrupted with branded, that's no problem, but can you play through right combination of hand traps? Can you kind of predict and kind of feel out certain situations? You know, if I have a hand where I can play through imperm, or can I play through droll, which route am I taking? You know, which one is more often, which one, you know, you have to be able to see how to play out a hand perfectly. And Nadir Servant's such a good card where you don't have to have any other card in hand. Branded in High Spirits is also a very good card, but you have to have another card in hand with it. Nadir Servant, yes, it does lock you. However, it gets you full combo, and it allows you to run cards like Dogmatica Maximus, which is a full combo just through Grand Guignol, you know, when you get Nibiru or something like that. So it just allows you to have multiple contingency plans through hand traps. And Nadir Servant just allowing you to be a 1-card gimmick puppet lock is just super insane in this format. So you could go, you know, branded fusion, and then that gets ashed, and then you can, then let's just say you go Cartesia that gets impermed. Let's just say you go branded in white that gets impulsed, and then you can just go Nadir Servant, and you're still on 2 to 3 cards depending on what other cards you ended up using. So I think Nadir Servant is a perfect last card in hand to help you play through things. Yes, it's not that great going second, but you can use that to, you know, if you're maining it, you can use it for really clean going second side patterns, or, you know, going second. It's not bad against decks like Labyrinth or Mermail, because if Mermail's hand ripping you for 4 cards, you know, having Nadir Servant plus a board breaker basically gets you there, you know. So decks like Labyrinth, which can turbo out D Barrier, I think Nadir Servant's actually important to have in going second. It's been a tried and true card in branded in the past. I recommend you guys try this out especially. guarantee you'll play through Fuwalos and only give people one draw because they only get to draw off of the Quem, and that's it. Nadir Servant's also amazing into next format because a lot of, you know, Impulse is going to be floating around and with, you know, Malice, and then also Tenpai still being in the meta, so, and also Fire King and Snake Eye still being amongst the best decks, so I think that Nadir is going to be very relevant going forward. So Final Bringer of the End Times is a really interesting tech option that you've been seeing cropping up in the OCG lately, and even in the TCG in a few different deck lists, and this is a quick play out of one of the newest sets, and what this spell card reads as is target one monster you control and one card your opponent controls, destroy them. You can only activate one Final Bringer of the End Times per turn. So essentially, if you've ever read Borreload Furious Dragon, it's Borreload Furious Dragon in a spell card. So it's almost as if it was a branded card, but it's not searchable. Unfortunately, if this was searchable, I think it would be a mandatory one of in branded. That'd be so good if we just had like a one of Final Bringer to search out at any point and set up. Oh my lord, I hope we get that as a new branded support. But anyways, I think this card is very good, even though it's unsearchable. Basically going second, it's crazy because you can go normal summon a Luber and then they can go imperm, and then you're like, great, Final Bringer, dodge it, destroy a Luber, take out one of their cards, and then just basically make them go neg1 and you're gonna go plus. So it's really cool. It's also a great going first card against certain decks because you can set it up almost as a branded beast on your opponent's turn, and it's great against a lot of your worst matchups, and such as stun, runic, and things like that. So I think that being, and also especially Tenpai to destroy the field spell, I think against Tenpai especially, I think against decks like Ryzeal, it might even be pretty good against that going first, and even Malice to get rid of the link bodies. Obviously it's not banishing them, so I think Final Bringer is going to be really good into this format and to next format. Fusion Duplication has been a tech card in the past and branded, even in the main deck with 3, with my man Yuri Diaz using this with his YCS top with branded, and I think overall this has always been a staple in my side deck, but I realize a lot of people don't realize why I run this in my side deck, because this card helps you play through hand traps going first. Essentially, if you see this card going first, you've won the game. You have so many options to get to branded fusion. You could go normal summon Quem or Shrouded Send for cost branded fusion, either or, and then just pass the turn, and then you have full combo with Fusion Duplication. As long as you have like a light spellcaster, you can just automatically gimmick lock because you can send Albaz and then fusion or gimmick puppet to the graveyard, and then make Lubellion pitch the light spellcaster, and then you can make a Sanctifier and then revive the gimmick puppet and any other card at that point. So it's very good in that regard, and Fusion Duplication I think should be a staple in everyone's side deck for playing through things like Mulcharmy, because you don't even have to give you can hand loop your opponent when they Mulcharmy you. They use Mulcharmy twice, great. Quem send branded fusion, set Fusion Duplication, and your opponent just hand loop themselves and you still have full combo. It's crazy actually. So I think that Fusion Duplication should be staple in everyone's side deck. I think Crossout is actually pretty good in branded right now overall, because you can be maining cards like Ash Blossom, Imperm right now, and the Mulcharmies, which are not bad targets to hit, but then also you could side deck one Impulse and one Shifter, so you aren't, so you're able to play around these hand traps, kind of like Mermail is doing right now. I do think we are one of the best anti-shifter decks in the game, and that's why you should be running branded over decks like Mermail, in my opinion. That's kind of crazy that people are choosing Mermail over branded when Mermail loses to the same amount of combination of hand traps usually as branded does, and they essentially have 10 times worse shifter lines. I think branded has some of the best shifter lines, so I think Crossout overall will be there for things like Mulcharmy and Impulse and Ash and Imperm more than anything. But I think overall this is one of the better times to be running Crossout in a branded build. But also we still have Triple Tactics Thrust getting the reprint in the new Rarity Bonanza, so you could always pick and choose and still side deck the Crossout designator. I was trying that after YCS Niagara and I was having some success with that. So I also wanted to give a shout out to the Bissteal package, because I think the Bissteal package is also still really good in branded, whether it's Sarnier, Magnemite, Druiswarm, and Lubellion, but I think mostly it's Bissteal Disper that is also kind of a spicier option, because you are able to make some of your worst hands pretty good, because you're able to like use like Quem and a Bissteal, and basically you can still get through, you can still set up some interruptions essentially by making Dispater through the Quem and then the Bissteal, and then you doing Dispater things. So it's pretty cool to see that, and I think that it is not a terrible one of slot to waste on a Bissteal Dispater. Also with Pot of Desires, this allows you to spin back some of your Pot of Desires face, because Bissteal Dispater can target a face down card to well, not target, but I don't know if it because it is able to target any kind of banished face down card, including face down, so it's great with the desires or just for grind game. And also in the turns 2 and 3 to make on for a grind game. Like I think I've said in the past, Dispater is the best thing you can talents take from an opponent, so why not run it in your deck as a one of. And also it makes these Bissteals a little bit better in your deck, and you can maybe even like run things like branded beast, like branded regained too, so you can get more out of your Bissteals and your Dispater. Allows you to have a little bit of a different game against like being able to play through Ash and Impulse. And then also I don't think it's great against like Tenpai or really Fire King, because what are you banishing? Yes, you can banish the Azamina, yes you can banish the seals, but that's not really exactly stopping them, and it's not helping you in a lot of game ones in that situation. So I think it's great against Azamina, but they still end up like doing their other combos, you know. So I think overall Bissteal Dispater is something that you guys could try out as a spicier option to combat this meta, to be able to play through, you know, all these hand traps. If you get imperm past, you know, Bissteal Dispater can help you play through that with a Clem and a Bissteal. I would say just be careful on Bissteals. I'm currently only running one Sarnier because it's a little bricky right now. You know, so be careful on that when playing branded. So cards like the Mulcharies are also very good in branded right now, because you basically get to generate card advantage and also cripple your opponent's board with just a hand trap. It lets you go second into decks that normally will FTK you, like Mermails and, you know, Chimera and things like that. So I think you need the Mulcharies in order to basically not lose against a lot of those decks going second, because yes, you have engine and board breakers, but the Mulcharies also help you cripple their board because they have to stop their turn unless you're just going to get way too much advantage off the Mulcharies. So I think overall that's kind of where you are left with the Mulcharies. They also let you draw into cards like Triple Tactics Thrust, Talents, and Super Poly, which lets you break the board very easily, but you're going to be able to break any board with 8 to 9 cards, even with all engine. So I think they're very much worth it. Also, they are high spirits bridges with branded, so definitely worth running. Thanks for watching, guys. With that being said, leave a like and comment down below what you guys thought about the video. Did I miss any tech cards you guys have been liking for this format? These have just been the strongest options for this format, and even next format for branded, that considering Ryziel and Malice, but also considering the current playing field, these are cards you should be on with branded, or just at least consider. I'd say more or less the Final Bringer and then the Dissipator are more or less kind of the spicier picks, but the rest of the options, whether it's Fusion, Duplication, Nadir, and Super Poly, these are cards you need to be on with branded right now. And we do have combos kind of showing off the things like playing through Mulcharmy, playing through Impulse, and we're even going to release a new combo guide, so make sure to leave a like down below. If this video gets to 100 likes, we'll make a follow-up. And like I said, check out the links to support the channel. TCG Player down below. Help support the channel, bookmark and buy some cards on there and help support the channel. Then also get a Twitch subscription, use your Amazon Prime, and then join the YouTube membership. You get entered into every month's giveaway, and then also you get into the members only classroom with my exclusive deck list and tournament reports. So with that being said, we will be seeing you guys later. Thank you for watching. MetaGamesGX signing out. Make sure you're subscribed to, click the bell, all that fun stuff. Bye, guys.